Both in LA. For some reason, not in the same studio. Forgot to talk about it.
Wait, are you talking about right now?
Oh, I forgot. You're in Nashville. Never mind.
Does this look like my closet?
I wish that you always had that background. That looks so nice.
Maybe I should grab a photo of it and I can make it my background, right?
You can, indeed. Yes.
All right. Or when I'm in this beautiful setting, I put on my closet background. I think now we're talking.
Now you got it.
Hey, Sunday Papers listeners. How's everybody's Sunday? We wouldn't know because it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. The reason we're taping so early is I get on a flight tomorrow morning for Chicago to see my son. My oldest child will be graduating college.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's very cool. I'm very excited for him. I'm very proud of him. It is funny, though, when you think of, like, proud. Like, I remember feeling guilty that my parents were proud of me when I graduated college. I'm like, I just drank and got laid for 4 years. Like, yeah, I really tried. Like, I showed up for class and I did the work and I got good grades. But, like, it wasn't anywhere near as hard as working a job would have been.
I had a lot of that also. And then I also had, they should be proud because I'm the only roommate who has a degree in his canister today of Jerry, Jeff, Tom, and me. I think I was the only one who wasn't lying to their parents. Jerry lied. Jerry full out lied that he graduated. He had the piece of paper in there, but he was like 2 classes shy.
Yeah. Wow.
I know. I don't know if he ever got it, actually.
I was thinking about in the history of my family, like my grandparents didn't have college degrees. My father only did a 2-year associate's degree. My mom didn't go to college. My brother didn't graduate. My sister did. And,
okay.
So basically, my son is only one of a few people, Fitzsimmons, is to have graduated college.
Nice. I mean, I always think of that Chappelle story where Chappelle was the first in his family not to go to college, which is a very unique African-American experience.
Oh, you're freezing
yeah.
up.
All right. I wonder if it's yours. I'm going to switch Wi-Fis. We can still talk, but I'm going to switch Wi-Fis. I think we can still talk.
All right. I'm going to talk while you switch
No,
Wi-Fi.
You know what? It's the only one. Hold on. It's the only one offered. Shoot.
Okay.
I think it's strong enough, though. It should be. It might be you, pal.
I mean, we talked for a half hour before the show, and you didn't freeze once.
Yeah, I know. Someone might be streaming something now. I don't know. All right. Am I still freezing?
No, you're fine now. It was just that one moment.
Greg is super clear.
I think it was when you were talking about Chappelle.
All right. Fingers crossed.
All right, fingers crossed, and hopefully uncrossed also.
Okay.
So we'll fly in. We're going to go. We got tickets to see the Chicago Symphony on Friday night, and we'll take his roommates and out to dinner, go to the Art Institute. I just love Chicago, and to be there in June is going to be sick. So excited.
I'm so overdue to go there. Yeah, it's great. I've never been to the museum, which is kind of criminal.
It's my favorite
in
museum in
Chicago.
the country. I just love it. And, and JoJo's coming, so I think she's planning on doing a lot of partying with Owen and his friends. You know, you can imagine being,
That's so cool.
She'll be 20 next month, but at that age to be able to, party with her brother. And so it's going to be great. Yeah.
My JoJo and Sophie just went surfing the other morning together. Yep, and had a great time. Sorry, I'm texting. I'm trying to maybe get someone off this who's streaming.
Yeah, it was JoJo took a little break from surfing. She did it from, I think, 6th grade all the way through high school. She was out there like your daughter. They were out there together surfing before school. 6:30 in the morning in fucking January and February. It's crazy. And then she took a little break, but I'm glad she's back.
It's so cool. And that they were out there every morning. Because remember, we would make a big deal of like, you know, we'd as especially East Coasters, we'd jump in the ocean every Thanksgiving. And that was such like a big deal. And then like we'd beg our kids to come and they would, it was the most thrilling. We felt like Polar Bear Club.
Yeah.
And then our girls get in high school. They're like, I've already been in the ocean today.
Yeah, right.
I mean, every single day, this is not a big deal at all.
Yeah. Right. Is Sophie gonna?
But it was. She talked about how cold it was, and even it was pretty cold when they went out the other day. Like this, because you have to understand. Well, everyone's covered in smoke. We're going to get to that in a minute. But it is summer everywhere in America except Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's not freezing, but it's cold. It's cold.
Has not been in the 70s.
Yeah.
10 days in the high 60s or at best.
Yeah.
And you know, Michigan's in the 90s.
Yeah, I would love some 90. Well, I think Chicago's going to be in the 80s this weekend, so that'll be good. So is your daughter going to teach surfing this summer?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. She has a political internship again, with the consulting firm, and then JoJo's looking to get her a job helping out when the Penmar is overwhelmed.
Right. That'll be good.
Hopefully that'll work out. That could be great. Nice. Olivia has been rejected twice by Trader Joe's. And I love that because Trader Joe's has their act together no matter what you say. And they had a friend from high school that worked there, and it's an impressive credit on your resume. You are experienced. You're going to be experiencing a very well-run, famously well-managed store. And so that means a lot. And I guess everybody there, like they go out socially, like it really becomes like, you know, not a cult, but a clique for sure.
I have never had a surly employee at Trader Joe's. You ask where something is, they fucking walk you 3 aisles down and show you where it is. And I think they get paid really well. I constantly ask the cashiers what their job is like. I don't know why. I'm just obsessed with how happy everybody is there. Denman is writing that it's German. I didn't know that. Okay.
Of course. Well, he knows. He also likes the People's Car, you know, which Hitler designed or, you know, inspired.
He's got a Krups
All right,
coffee
I'm going to
maker.
switch Wi-Fi.
Okay, do it.
I'm switching Wi-Fi right now. I don't know how long that takes. So Phil, you radio motherfucker.
I'm going to talk about.
Here we go.
Mike and I went out on the picket line yesterday, and we walked the line, baby, with Carol Leifer, who's a friend of the show. She's a fan of Sunday Papers. She texts me a lot.
Hold on now.
And I've had her on Fitzdog Radio. If people don't know her, she's a big writer. She writes for Curb Your Enthusiasm. She wrote for a long time on Seinfeld, as a matter of fact.
Oh, boy.
She is who Elaine is based on in Seinfeld, because I guess Larry and Jerry came up with her in New York. And she took me out to breakfast before the walk, and then we got out on the line, and it's just a lot of funny. But here's what I hate. Guy comes up to me, and he goes, "Hey, Greg, you remember me?" And I'm like, "Remember you?" Now I go, "I don't, I'm sorry, I don't know." And he goes, "I was the writer's assistant on Lucky Louie." And I'm like, dude, that was 17 years ago. Don't lead with, do you remember me? And I felt like a piece of shit because I remembered really liking that guy. And then I look him up on IMDb, and he's like a huge producer. He's like one of the biggest executive producers in town.
I got sick Wi-Fi, bro.
Nice.
So I missed the top of that story. And where was this form?
On the picket line. On the picket line.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, the picket line is fun. It's so fun to see people you haven't seen in a while. And there's such a feeling of solidarity, and
Greg,
you feel like you're doing
it's not
something.
fun. Greg, it's not fun. What are you doing?
And but it is hard when you kind of recognize people and you don't know their names.
But imagine if you or I were a dick, like, and kind of were consistently not a pleasant employer. Like, that's scary, I think, than to walk on the picket line.
Right.
You and I never, ever worry for a second about running into someone who worked with us.
Right.
You know?
Well, that's male. Yeah, for sure.
Well, the females, we made sure to ruin their careers. They're not on the picket line. I mean, they're cleaning hotel rooms somewhere, hopefully.
Yeah. And let's just hope that that's not a room we rent, because then it's just the whole thing starts all over again. And where do you go from there?
And you like totally feel obliged to tip well again. Hush money continues.
What do you tip in a hotel room?
Most often 0. Is that bad to admit? Because I'm rarely in a hotel more than one night, or more than 1 hour, really.
Yeah, that's bad form, Mike.
So I stay one night. I leave a tip for them.
Yes.
Even if the room is like basically spotless.
Nah, you leave. I mean, who you gonna tip? The person that turns around, pulls a lever, and hands you a cup of coffee. They get $1. But
Fuck
the lady
them, no.
that is ripping fucking cum-stained sheets off your bed and picking up a towel that's got a hand lotion on it on the floor next to your bed, she doesn't get anything?
I take my washcloths that I desecrate. I take them, just roll them up, take them home.
No, I give $5 a night when I'm staying at a hotel.
All right, I'm going to start doing that. Someone told me that as a policy, they generally take 1 or 2 or whatever washcloths. They're like they're the easiest things. It's the biggest turnover in any hotel, laundry and all that. And that they have that's how they have all their rags, cleaning rags and all that at home.
Really?
And I kind of was impressed. I was like, that's not a bad idea.
Well, Gilbert Godfrey used to take the shampoo from the hotels, and apparently he had like boxes and boxes full of tiny shampoos in his house.
And then he would just slowly fill them with ejaculate and then return them when he went back to the hotels.
Call back to last week. You got to listen to Sunday Papers
every week. Every week, people.
And then I'm very excited to talk about my cousin, Denny McCarthy, last weekend. If you're a golf fan, you definitely know who he is now. He was in the lead in the Memorial, which is a huge tournament. It's Jack Nicklaus's tournament, and one of the biggest golf matches of the year. And he was in the lead for the last 5 holes, and then a guy tied him at the end. They went into extra holes, and he lipped out a putt. It went in and out, and he lost. But he came in second place.
He was up by 2 strokes on 16 or going into 17.
With 2 holes to go, he was up by 2.
It was his to lose.
Yep.
The only hole that he bogeyed the whole day was 18.
Right. And the day before. And half of the day before. So in 27 holes, he had no bogeys except the hole he finished on. And that's the hole they play sudden death on. Yeah.
Wow.
And he bogeyed it again in sudden death.
So I've never watched golf. I kind of pride myself on that. And like I'm always like, who's that? I don't know. And but the girls have never seen me. So I turn that on. I catch them up. They're now rooting for your cousin. They've never seen me yell that loud at sports when his ball lipped out.
Really?
I screamed so loud. And it wasn't like a yes, obviously. It was like a what? Like,
yeah. Was that in the sudden death, or was that in the regular round?
No, I think that was. Oh no, the sudden death, the one that lipped.
Yeah.
That's the one that lipped out.
Yeah, that was
tough. And then the other guy looked like his was going to lip out, and it didn't.
I know. So anyway, he's going to be playing in the U.S. Open next week, and so we'll talk about that more. But I really want to go to that. I really want to go to the U.S. Open.
All right, good.
Playing in L.A.
What course is it at?
L.A. Country Club.
Wait a minute. The one off Wilshire in Beverly Hills?
Yeah, right.
Isn't it racist?
Yeah.
How many? I'm so naive. How many are in still very racist clubs? I thought there was an effort.
Augusta, where the Masters is, was racist until not long ago at all. There were no black members. While Tiger played, he won the Masters several times at a club where they did not allow black members.
I know, we've talked about this a lot, and in my opinion, even really adding insult to injury was mandatory black caddies. So if you're Jack Nicklaus coming in, you're like, my son's my caddy. They're like, not here unless he's black.
At the Masters?
Until like, Chris, maybe look it up. Black caddies were mandatory at the Masters. Whites not allowed until like 1980 or something.
What?
Maybe 60? Whatever. I think in our lifetime though.
Wow.
Yeah,
This is a
where would
bad
he put
optic
this?
that we're into golf. Right? I'm feeling guilty that I'm a golf fan right now.
It's despicable. We're gonna get to that.
All right,
I think my Wi-Fi has worked out.
We're gonna get back into all of this later when we get to sports, but let's shout out Craig Godet, who is an Uber friend of the show. He contributes a lot of logos to us.
Oh, he's awesome.
He's awesome, and this is a great one. The White Stripes. What album is that? What White Stripes album is that?
I don't think it is. Craig can write a correction. I think it's obviously their trademark red, white, and black. It's a triangle. The triangle, now I'm nerding out. The triangle was a very big motif in Seven Nation Army, though.
Okay.
So I think he's taken the Seven Nation Army look and made an album cover. That's
Nice.
my final answer.
Okay. Speaking of music, Rob Stone did today's
And look at
theme
you.
song.
You got to be the male.
I know. I think I've kind of put it out there to our universe that
I'm Meg.
I prefer being the male. So right now, Denman is writing that from 1934 through 1982,
82.
club caddies at Masters all black.
82.
Wow, that's crazy.
Mandatory.
Wow. Well,
That's
you
fucked. That's like, remember I told you I
I
saw
mean, well, it's like the only job where blacks are guaranteed, a position. Carrying a fucking golf bag for a white guy.
They were guaranteed tons of positions in the
Yeah,
South
there you
for
go.
over 100 years before that,
Right.
all unpaid. It does remind me, though, that insult to injury. I told you once I was at the Improv and Chris Rock dropped in and he got up there and he was just reading off his BlackBerry. That'll date it. But he had his BlackBerry and he was just reading like comedy notes he had made. And he's like, what's this? He's like, tarred and feathered. And he's like, oh, yeah. Is the tarred, he goes, is the feather just for kicks? He goes, I get the tarred, unbelievably painful. You probably won't live. Is the feathers just for laughs?
It's just decorative. Yeah.
And that's the black caddy twist on
Yeah.
racism.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Or it's not. I don't know if may not be my place to say that's hilarious. It is insightful, Chris Rock.
It is.
And then corrections. Really enjoy the cow talk. May need to bring in a cow expert to contribute to the program. Please share with Mike that cows fart methane and carbon dioxide, not carbon monoxide. Carbon
Right.
dioxide may destroy the planet and kill us, but carbon monoxide will kill you much more quickly. Keep up the good work, James.
When I'm faced to ass with a cow, it did smell like carbon monoxide. I did want to die immediately, so my bad. It's carbon dioxide.
Well,
Noted.
to follow up from that is a guy named Stan who says, Dean of Agriculture at the University of Alberta. Canada has colleges now? Good for them. Cattle do produce significant amounts of greenhouse gases, but you were incorrect about the direction of the methane they produce. The big issue is burps, not what travels down the opposite end of the digestive tract. About 89% of the methane has actually been formed in the gut of the animal, and it is eradicated or belched out from the animal through the nostrils and mouth. So I'm thinking
Wow. That
cow
must hurt.
mouthwash. Cow mouthwash might be good.
Oh, and interesting. Have you ever remember those? I have a pretty, other than this goddamn terrible voice of mine because of acid reflux, I never ever have heartburn or issues, but I have burped before where it burns your nose.
Yes.
maybe that's just the acidity, but I wonder if that, I mean, we must, we produce it too. But
Well,
those
a burp
sound
is
like
just
crazy.
a dry vomit.
Huh?
And a burp is just a dry vomit, and a fart is just a dry shit.
Little practice sessions. Okay. What do
Um,
we have here?
We got
Minor corrections?
This is Sean Johnson. Minor correction. The past tense of squeeze is squeezed, not squoze. I remember you saying squoze last week.
No, I believe you did.
Nope, I believe you did.
Oh, okay. Really?
Who said it more emphatically?
I don't know. I thought you squozed it in there and, no one noticed maybe.
On a more serious note, I appreciate the segment on your dad and the kind things Mike said. It was very touching. I lost mine a few years ago as well, before he could see me get married or have kids. It sucks, but life goes on, as you find out. Thank you, Sean Johnson.
I remember.
And then Ryan.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I remember when we all went to Sorelli's dad's funeral, and that, very much caught him by surprise, and we were 22 or something, and somehow I had the wisdom, because John beat himself up a little. He gave a eulogy, and, he didn't remember the last time, like, he had told his dad he loved him or something, and, it was a very strong, like, Italian household, so I don't think there was a lot of that, and, I mean, there was love, but it was never stated, and so... And everything that he did, it was that generation. He was an immigrant, literally took the boat from Italy to come to America and start blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I somehow had the wisdom to, which everyone should remember, like, it's like, your dad was a son also. And they understand not telling your dad, I love you. You have to have that, like, a kid could really, and maybe you did a little, a kid could really do a number on himself thinking their parent is unaware of how appreciative they are. And,
Right.
Because it's uncommunicated. And, I don't think that's always the case.
Well, do you remember Kevin Lynch's father died while we were in college, and he died on Father's Day?
Oh,
And
that's
so-
right. I forgot
yeah.
about that.
And so I wrote my dad a letter, and I said, my friend Kevin's dad just died, and all I could think was that maybe he hadn't told him how much he loved him, so I'm writing to tell you that. And then I went on to say some loving things to him, and so I wrote it, I sent it, come home for the summer, never mentions it, never says a word, no acknowledgement. And then when he died, we were going through his desk, cleaning out his desk, and I found a bundle of letters with a rubber band around it, and it was every letter I'd ever sent him, because I used to send him letters when I was traveling around Europe and from college, and they were all tucked away in his desk with a rubber band on them, and I found that letter.
Dude, that's the most touching. That's a perfect ending to a great movie or a short film
Yeah,
or like that.
yeah.
Any story, that's the classic, like almost Cinema Paradiso type ending. Like, what a memento literally for him. And that's amazing. And I remembered it when you were halfway through. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's right.
I put it in my book. I put the letter in my book.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And I think it's something that spills over into my family. We're very communicative in our family about stuff, about feelings. And we do something, I don't know if I should say this, but me and Owen have this kind of running joke where when I bring him to the airport and I drop him off, he kisses me right on the lips.
Come on.
Yeah, just to get a reaction out of people. And people probably wonder, is that like a rich older guy and that's his boyfriend, or are they some kind of weirdo family?
You should definitely put on accents after you kiss. Just don't be American doing that shit. And well, we know that Owen's never going to have a problem. Like, do you think your dad knew how much you loved him? He's like, I hope so. The last time I saw him, I kissed him right on the fucking lips.
Oh God. Do you hug your kids a lot?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then, no, we're good. And I'm getting very sentimental. I think, we compare notes. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm I'm constantly half a song away from crying. Like I could get there in no time. And so I communicate that. Like I will tell them how special I think they are. And so that's definitely increased for sure. And it's I have to take a little credit away from myself. It's also easier when I'm a parent half the time. You know what I mean? Like it's not a day in, day out. So by definition, my time with them is more special than when I was married, right. and living with them full time. And of course now Sophie lives in Michigan, at college. So that already is more special. But even with Olivia, who's my roommate half the time, I'll give myself back the credit that I am being aware to communicate that stuff.
Yeah, that's great. What's great is camping trips. I mean, no one's got a phone. You're not in a city. You're not navigating restaurants and parking and bullshit. You're just like setting up a tent and hanging out. It's the best.
Well, I love going September to the Eastern Sierras because the mosquitoes have already ducked out because the night maybe will get a little cold. And I found that place. You go up, you catch, golden trout, and, you release them right away. But up in the home of golden trout, I believe, but it's in John Muir Woods, the national park. Anyway, it's basically right near Mount Whitney. And we should do it. We should go in September. I know Sophie and JoJo, well, actually, and Owen might be around. So let's talk about it.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect day. Gotta say, it gets a little. That's when I freaked out on the guy at REI. I came back. I'm like, hey, listen, I bought your 30-degree bag. He's like, oh, what do you think 30 degrees is? I'm like, what do I think it is? I think I could sleep in it without wanting to kill myself at 30 degrees. And he's like, no. That's the degree where a human body will technically survive. I'm like, that should be shared because I put every bit of clothing over a 2-hour period. I dug through my pack. I had socks on my hands and I was zipped up so my hot air it was miserable.
Right. Oh, that's scary. And you got nowhere to go.
No, pitch blackout.
This comes from, I don't know who this comes from, but it came in the mailbox.
All right.
The aero design of a Formula One car is designed to avoid putting a lot of pressure on the driver's head from the wind being generated. I mentioned last week I don't understand why there's no windshield on a Formula One car. They're going 200 miles an hour. The halo or roll bar, as you referred to it, also helps, but is mainly there for the driver's safety, as you mentioned, with Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton's car hopping incident. Blah, 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 blah. So there is now a budget cap on how much each team can spend on their cars, but he says the effects have been minimal. And so if I'm almost done with the series. I got like 3 episodes left. I think there's 4 or 5 seasons. I cannot recommend this F1 series on Netflix anymore. It's amazing.
I want to see it because everyone who has told me that has less than 0 interest in Formula One going in.
Same with me.
And for it to be that impressive means they are doing some really great storytelling in the edit bay.
Yes.
And
they're also shooting with about 50 cameras at about 50 events a year. And it's all super high def 8K cameras. I mean, it's like you can see the details of the car driving by at 200 miles an hour. It's insane. And they get the noise of the engines. And I mean, there's only 20 F1 drivers in Formula One. That's it. That's the entire. And we're talking about
how many?
20. There's 10 teams. They each have 2 drivers. And there's Formula 2. There's other circuits, but in terms of the big one, there's only 20 guys, and so you really get to know them and their relationships with. Some hate each other, some love each other. It's really wild.
Wow. Formula One story. I think it's Formula One, but Senna. My girls and I watch that documentary. And now, whenever we're in traffic and we're running late, I'll be like Senna, and I change lanes. And of course, the girls are like, can you can you reference a driver who didn't die while driving? That would be a better reference. But apparently there's a story, and I don't know where it was, and someone can write in and correct, but apparently Senna crashed at a Monte Carlo or some famous place where he was he was doing really well, and he was like one of the most precise drivers, I guess. And so anyway, he was screaming in the pit like the wall moved, like the wall had moved, like it was out like an inch, or like it was like a bad loser. He was like not willing to take credit for hitting the wall on a turn. And the guy like kept listening to him. The guy then went back, or maybe he went back with Senna to that turn, and the wall was out an inch.
Really?
Yeah. And so someone who knows more about it, maybe write in and we'll read it next week. My thought was, couldn't he have moved the wall by hitting it? But he swears that he had the perfect line and that inch or less made all the difference, and it caught his tire.
I mean, they show these guys and they are coming around turns, and they're S turns where they go left and then right. And they are an inch from each other. These giant rubber wheels. And if the wheels touch, the car fucking flips at 200 miles an hour. It's crazy.
Well, if you haven't seen Senna, it was like they had the evil German villain and they had the biggest rivalry. And I got to take the German side, like Denman will, obviously knee jerk, he'll always do that. But I got to take the German side on this one a little bit, because Senna drove, as he would tell you, as if God was, he was channeling God. So you have a full-blown lunatic who was taking very risky chances a lot of the time against this amazing German driver. And so anyway, they had that rivalry, that movie, that documentary was fantastic.
I would like to see statistically if there are more accidents since this F1 series started, because I drive a Prius and there's a button on the dashboard that says power mode, and it basically eradicates all of your gas savings in your Prius, and it makes it go way faster. And I drive, you got to see a Prius driving up Lincoln Boulevard, zipping in between people like an F1 driver. I'm like an idiot. And I'm not lying to you. The Prius with that power mode on is a very quick car.
Well, wait till you get your Mustang, because the Mustang only has one setting, and it's already factory set to douchebag and fucking asshole. It's a hyphenate.
And it comes with an Italian flag on the license plate cover. Yeah. With the AARP written underneath it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so if you guys want to laugh more like you've been laughing at this podcast so far when I talk about letters to my dead father, I will be at Laugh Boston June 16th and 17th. Those shows are selling out. Get your tickets right away at fitzdog.com. Also, I'll be in a place called Pottstown, PA at Soul Joel's on July 21st.
Wow.
You think that sounds funny? How about the next 2 nights? I'll be in Point Pleasant at Uncle Vinny's, July 22nd and 23rd.
Also known as Soulless Vinny's. You go from Soul Joel's to Soulless Vinny's.
It is going to be a lot of Italian people. So come on down and say, how you doing?
The way you're talking about Uncle Vinny's, man, I think you're going to build up. I think you're going to sell it out.
Well, I think that Joey Diaz lives near there, so I'm going to try to get him to come down and do a little guest spot.
Fuck yeah.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking of fun, do you like going to musical events? I know you do. I like going to concerts.
And I'm Mr. Last Minute. I'll tell you that very honestly. You know that. I sometimes buy them on the drive there.
Yes. And sometimes when you do that on the wrong apps, you can get taken to the cleaners. Not with Game Time. GameTime.co, not com.co, but really you want to get the app. It's an amazing app, and it lets you buy tickets for sports, music, comedy, theater, last-minute amazing deals. And they also have a price guarantee where if you find the same ticket that is in the same row and section for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. I'm tracking the U.S. Open right now, the golf, to try to get tickets. I look at it every day. The prices fluctuate, but all I got to do, I mean, some of them are $800, some of them are $84, And and you looking for anything right now?
You ready? So
Yeah.
at the beginning of the podcast, I called it up and I was looking. I'm in Nashville, and they have at the top popular, and it knows where I am. It has Shania Twain tonight at 6:30. Right now it's 6:04. And when I called it up, it was $55 to go see her. It's now $39.
No.
39. I literally just watched the thing update because
Damn.
it's 25 minutes probably from her warm-up band and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Duran is in Nashville. $7 if you want to go next Tuesday.
So this app is sick. It's the best way to see a concert. And it also takes like 2 taps and the tickets get sent right to your phone. You don't have to print anything. You can also look around. It's got this
These are
video
cheaper than
component.
other sites. Kid Rock in Nashville at the Bridgestone, July 1. And he's a big July 4th. Like he has those songs about, he's all about America, obviously. But I think he even has July. Anyway, $38. Come on.
So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PAPERS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PAPERS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right. Good read.
Do I have paper? Yeah, I got paper. Let's do it.
Love it. Let's do it.
Extra! Extra! Read all about it! Extra!
I don't know what it is. I love the sound, though. It's like stuffing paper. It's like gift paper.
Ooh,
Okay,
maybe somebody got
GPS.
you a gift.
No, I pulled it out of the garbage. Swear to God. It was right in
Maybe
there.
somebody bought you a gift, got mad at you, and threw out the gift.
Quite possibly.
A man, is this yours or mine?
It's mine. I loaded the shit out of this document
Do
this
it.
week.
Do it.
GPS. A man accidentally arrived at the Canadian border without a U.S. passport, causing officers to search his car, hiding nearly 400 pounds of marijuana and hundreds of thousands of dollars, police said. The 60-year-old, what a bad day, followed the wrong GPS directions and made a wrong turn into the borderline at the Canadian Border Services on May 2nd, according to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Oh, I love it. If they're mounted police and you're in a car, what are you doing caught? Unless they're sitting on like Secretariat and Seabiscuit, I think you're getting a pass on this one.
How about the directions? Make a left at the bridge and you have arrived at the site of your arrest. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's got an icon with handcuffs on it.
Couldn't his, like, you know how like Waze has your, like, it's like, is there a policeman? You know, there's someone reported there's a policeman up ahead. Is it still there? This one would have been like, there's like 16 policemen,
Yeah.
like 100. Are they still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
still here.
Yeah. Meanwhile, our friend, I'm not going to say his name, but our friend in college had a Volkswagen bus, and he came back from Canada.
You know,
and
I
they
was with him.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, then
It
you
was-
tell the story. You tell the story.
We're driving out to Jackson Hole. We are 21 and full of dumb. And we by the way, we didn't know we were going to Jackson Hole. We just knew we had the summer before senior year. Let's head west. We'll see about Colorado. We're going to go to the mountains, right? So the first leg of the drive, let's hop into Canada because they have stronger beer. I remember, and I can't remember anything, Badors, I think Badors, probably wrong Canadian pronunciation. And it was a stronger beer. So the 3 cars, we were 3 guys, hop into Canada, and then we come over the Ambassador Bridge into Detroit. We know what we're getting into because Billy has a VW van with a giant steal your face Grateful Dead logo on the door. So we're like, Billy, give me, I'm in a lesbian Subaru wagon. And then Chris was, we said his name, but only first names only. And we're like, Chris is in a Scirocco. Give us. So I'm wearing all the weed. It's on my body in case they pull me over, but I know. So anyway, we drive up Scirocco. They just wave you. Don't even stop. Subaru, don't even stop. They see the van 100 yards away. 2 of them step in the lane with their hands up.
Yeah.
They pull Billy over. We park and watch what's happening. They take his van door would always fall off. Billy like approaches the car.
That. Yes.
His van door was like a sliding van door. You'd slide it and it would slam down, and God forbid if your foot was under it.
Yeah.
So they're starting to open the door. Billy runs toward the van. They brace him like a security thing. Like, what are you doing? He's like, no, the door will fall. Boom, it falls off. So anyway, they search his van. He's like, there's nothing in there. There's nothing in there. They search one of the cassette tapes. Tiny roach is in one of the cassette tapes that we, of course, didn't think to look for. The U.S. government now owns his van because of Ronald Reagan's zero tolerance. So they feel so bad for us, believe it or not. They're like, listen, where are you staying? We're like, well, I guess we're staying here now in Ann Arbor or wherever in Michigan. So they're like, come to the auction tomorrow morning. We'll auction it off first, but you got to be here at 8 because someone will buy your van. And we're like, fuck. So we get a motel. We have to take all the stuff in the hotel room out of the car, blah, blah, blah. We buy his van back at auction the next morning.
That's amazing. And do you know what happened to that van later?
No.
He sold it to, you remember my friend from Belfast, Northern Ireland, Sean?
Oh, of course.
He sold it to Sean for a case of beer.
Wow.
And I think Billy might have gotten a better deal on it than Sean.
Probably, especially to Sean. I mean, that case of beer is worth a lot.
Yeah. That's an amazing story.
I did have a question about this story, not a joke, like most of my material, but it's interesting. Because he didn't have a passport, he didn't officially enter Canada. I'm wondering, like, fuck you, Canada. I'm not a citizen. I'm not in your country. Fuck you that I have this weed.
So you mean like one of those Smokey and the Bandit scenarios where like they make it over the Nevada county line and all the cops have to stop at the border and not follow him any longer?
I guess but like maybe he's on Canadian soil, but he's not officially entered. He didn't try to enter the country with the weed. Right,
you know,
he wasn't saying like, I'm coming in, here's my passport.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's
all
someone can write in, someone who has a brain unlike me and might know it.
All right, how about your
next
story, Mike? You landed another story in the document.
Oh, dude, I was on Spirit Airlines with the worst Wi-Fi ever, and I loaded all these stories on my phone.
Did you have to pay extra for Wi-Fi on Spirit?
Well, they have a neat thing that if you pay for Wi-Fi, you can also pay for water, and you can also pay for your seat, and you can also pay for any luggage you bring on.
Overhead baggage is all. Yeah, right.
I hacked that system, boy, with the new duffel backpack hybrid.
I love
it. If you're wearing it on your back, they do not look at how big your bag is. It's gigantic.
I love it.
Okay. Martha Stewart slams remote work. Quote, should America go down the drain because people don't want to go back to work? She goes, you can't possibly get everything done working 3 days a week in the office and 2 days remotely. Look at the success of France with their stupid, off for August, blah, blah, blah. That's not a very thriving country, she told the news.
Meanwhile, her whole look is about French country.
Yeah.
You know?
Stewart 81 also cited her work ethic during the pandemic. I continued to work 5 days a week, she told the outlet. I haven't stopped at all. You should see my calendar. It's horrific.
Dude, when I'm 81, my calendar is going to be the opposite of horrific. It is going to begin at 11 a.m. when I wake up and start drinking and playing golf and doing the Sudoku and throwing a move on the wife with Viagra stuffed down my throat. There's going to be no office to go to.
Yeah. Also, she should be aware more than anyone. You know how hard it is to do insider trading from home? You know what I mean? Like, she's right. You got to get to the office. That's what she did.
Right,
she did it from the office.
Yeah.
That has a place.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get it. 81. I mean, I'm still working hard. I got another kid to put through college. I got a mortgage. And then I'm telling you, the day my kids are out of college and everything is funded, and I'll get a text from my wife. I'm going to be at the fucking Comedy Kitchen in Boise, Idaho, halfway through a set. I'm going to get a text from my wife. We just paid off the mortgage, and I'm going to be like, good night. 12 minutes in a set. Good night, everybody. Not selling merch after the show.
Who wants all these pins for $10?
And all of my jokes. I'm going to start the bidding on the joke about how men and women are different.
Also, it's weird. Her whole mission in life, in Martha Stewart living, is making your home and your home lives better. That's her whole business model, but she doesn't want you there. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of the place I helped you make cozy.
And also, like, as far as being productive, like, working from home is so advantageous. The average person is commuting like 2 hours a day, and then you spend an hour chit-chatting in the hallway to people that you don't want to talk to. There's like 3 hours of meetings you really don't need to be in, but you get pulled into. Then you got to like go out for lunch. That's an hour, and you haven't even jerked off yet. Like the home, when you really come down to it, people work 3 to 4 hours a day. That's it. That if you're efficient, that's all you need.
You're not grabbing ass at home either, you know?
That's
like
right.
you can be more productive. You take that window out of there.
Yep.
All right. This is your story, Pally.
New York City has reached 324 on the AQI Wednesday afternoon, which is in the worst category, hazardous, on the U.S. government's air quality tracker. If people don't know, there's massive forest fires going on in Canada right now, and this smoke is blowing directly down over New York.
I don't know. It sounds like they might have lit up that 400 pounds of weed from that old man's car.
Everybody seems really happy in New York, and restaurant sales are through the roof.
Everybody close your windows, or don't. It's pretty funny.
Right. So they shattered the record that started in 1999. Dubai and Delhi. Is it Delhi or Delhi?
Oh,
We've
God,
talked
not
about
this again. Delhi.
Delhi
Even the
came
new one
in
is Delhi.
at number 2 and number 3. I've always said Delhi is like a number 2 in the world, with 168 and 164, so half of what New York is. So
why New York, do you think? Like, why wouldn't Buffalo be the absolute worst, or Maine, or Burlington, Vermont, or Boston?
It must be some kind of weird wind tunnel that's like heading straight down. But they said that there's an air health advisory for the entire state, with the exception of the Adirondacks. So it's like, now if you see a lot of tents up in the Adirondacks, not campers, winos from the Lower East Side, getting the fuck out of the city.
Well, I did see that the WGA, the Writers Guild of America East, and this isn't a joke, officially told picketers to take the day off, and the mayor of New York has now advised everyone to stay indoors whenever possible.
Wow.
So it's getting serious.
Should we call my
sure.
mother-in-law? She is a riot. Let me call
Of
my
course.
mother-in-law. She is from the Bronx. She went to the same high school as my mom in the Bronx. And she has lived in New York City for her entire life.
And is one of the world's greatest complainers.
Yes.
Because I'm on her side when she's complaining. It's like listening to a good comedian go on a rant. It's disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Right. That's her.
Hi, Greg.
Hi, Virginia. I'm just checking on you with all this smoke.
Tell her she's on a podcast.
Oh, we're okay. We're on our way up to Claremont to have dinner with Pat and John. We spent the whole day in the Bronx. Smoke was very bad there. We're wearing a KN95 mask, Johnny and I. We're in a cab right now going up there.
You're not wearing the same mask as Johnny at the same time, are you?
No.
All right, good.
No. We're not sharing a mask.
She borrowed the cab drivers.
But anyway, Erin told you about the house, right?
Yeah, it looks like we got some. You accepted an offer on the house?
Yeah, for cash.
That's fantastic. Let's get this over with and move forward with our lives.
Me too.
Yeah.
I am really, and then I want to have a bonfire when this is over and burn mountains of paper.
I love it. All right, listen, I got to run. I was just checking in on you real quick.
Okay, no, we're okay, but there's no relief in sight yet.
Yeah.
It's supposed to rain Friday.
Oh, okay. That'll probably help.
Here's Johnny. He says he's not okay.
I'm not. I can't breathe, nose, eyes, ears, throat, innervated. Outside of that.
Oh, God.
I hope that's the cab driver.
Maybe he needs more than a mask. Put a bag over his head.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
That was perfect. That's like when you go out to the weatherman, you know, in the shitty weather or the tornado or the hurricane. And it's like, I'm in a cab. I'm wearing a mask. It's horrible. And with the New York accent, it's so perfect.
It's so great.
And then that's exactly what I was referring to. And then I want to make the biggest bonfire and burn all this paper. Like, she's such a character.
Well, the house that just sold was her sister's. The Aunt Jo, who just died a year ago, she was 95, and she was literally born in that house physically and lived in it, never lived anywhere else for 95 years.
You should tell her she's on a pipe. She could have been like, yeah, we sold out. You know, we took the offer from that Chinaman. We're just gonna take his money.
Oh no,
he didn't want
the guy's name. No, the guy's name is Nick the Greek.
No,
that she sold it. Nick the Greek. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
And so the house is. It's so funny because like we didn't know. I mean, Erin's mom is going to inherit some decent money. Like houses in the Bronx are suddenly worth a lot of money. It's crazy. That's where everybody's moving. It's the new Brooklyn.
So listen, we took the Greek's offer, and, you know, hopefully he won't fuck us up the ass like they're, you know, reputed to do. But,
yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's going to make me dress up like a sheep so it feels normal when he starts fucking us.
And, you know, the Greeks, they're usually, you know, they have their finances all in order historically. They're very tight. The country's sound financially.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, my God. So, all right, let's do, is this you, Atlanta Airport?
I put it in. I found this story. I'm surprised Spirit's Wi-Fi, if you can call it that, didn't block this story. A woman at the Atlanta airport was denied boarding on a Spirit Airlines flight for being, quote, too intoxicated. She then slapped the gate agent. Per a police report, the woman was subsequently arrested and charged with simple assault.
Simple assault.
Yeah, it's that simple, ma'am.
It's not a complicated assault. She slapped her in the face. She walked away. It's simple.
Well, by the way, I didn't put this detail in there, but this is true. In the story, it says that after she slapped the gate agent, she then tried to board, which I thought that's one way to do it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
She was denied, slapped her, and then tried to board. Yeah.
Well, first of all, too intoxicated. There's no such thing as too intoxicated for Spirit Airlines.
Yeah.
I mean, my sobriety has been tested more by that, like we talked about, like overhead baggage, cup of coffee, you know, seat assignment, all extra charges. And then you get in your seat, it doesn't recline.
None of them.
The airline nothing made me drink more. The airline is literally named after alcohol, Spirit.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the agent then said the slap was the least insulting thing about working at Spirit Airlines. You know,
it's simple.
I flew it last night, and they were the oldest seats. They were like really worn out leather. Like, I think it was formerly a Delta plane.
Yeah.
So it was a really old plane. I was shocked there weren't ashtrays on the armrest. But it's like they have to do more work to not let the seats recline.
Right.
Unless it's like they come in, this is what it probably is. They come in, the retrofitting crew comes in while they're painting the thing the most obnoxious yellow color in the world. They then make the seats so they can't recline. They probably shift them up because the only saving grace is the person in front of you, thank God, can't recline because they're right on top of you. And then they probably add 3 rows, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Well, the FAA recently stepped in and made guidelines for how big a seat has to be because they've gotten so small. They said you cannot any longer make the seats smaller.
And this is not a joke, unfortunately. And then it must be a money grab on all the fat people who can't fit in one seat, which is absolutely has to be so common. I mean, it was a tight squeeze for me and the person next to me.
Yeah.
And I'm svelte.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she was a little roomy, but not so bad.
Yeah. It's nice to sit next to a roomy person on a flight. You kind of, it's like, it's a little cushion. It's like a little pillow next to you.
Yeah. Like when the armrest is a lot harder when her fat forearm isn't on it already.
Yeah. Hey, let's do some good news for Gubbins.
Here it is.
So I hear you played golf with him a couple days ago?
Yeah, and the great Craig Kilborn came out over to the west side to Penmar. He doesn't golf, but he
Was
did
he wearing
have
a tuxedo?
Close. He had a golf bag that he's had since he lived in New York, and hanging from it a badge he certainly will not cut off, a tag that was from Winged Foot.
Oh.
And I'm like, message received, sir.
Literally top 10 hardest courses to get onto in the United States. Winged Foot.
And his back went out hole 3, but he walked the rest of the course. Now, his history was one of the greatest Sports Center, hosts in the history of ESPN. And that's how he got his illustrious start.
Created the voice of that network.
And he and Dan Patrick used to do the show together in the middle of the morning, I think, when they were very young. And then he got the Daily Show from that because he was such a star on ESPN. Anyway, Gubbins hit a good drive at one point, and he's like, you must feel like 5'10" now, huh? And Gubbins loved it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that was pretty good. He also was talking a lot. Like he came up to me at one point and he goes, he says this is the best you've ever played. And I looked at him kind of puzzled, and he's like, he didn't. I just like to make shit. Like I thought you'd yell at him for saying that. I'm just trying to stir things up.
By the way, should I reveal my possible episode idea, or should we just do it as a surprise with Gubbins?
Okay, we're going to get mail just on you revealing it. But you're revealing the idea.
Yeah.
Not the solid plan. Go ahead.
Not a plan. I had a thought today. I don't know how it occurred to me.
It's not even an idea. It's a thought.
Not even an idea. It's a thought. It's in the ether. But what about this? And let's get some feedback from people. Me and Mike, I'm going to be in Ireland for 2 weeks this summer. And what if one of those weeks we get Dennis Gubbins and Chris Denman to host Sunday Papers, to write the script themselves, and I don't want them meeting. I don't want them to ever have a conversation until they get on a Zoom call, hit record, and begin the Sunday Papers.
I love this idea.
I think the listeners are going to demand it.
Now, one of the reasons I love it, and I don't mean for this to be a backhanded compliment, I mean it to just be backhanded, is famously Johnny Carson, when he had guest hosts, and of course Larry Sanders did such a funny job with this, they were always comforted when the guest hosts weren't that threatening. And Johnny, of course, was above being threatened because he did choose killers, including Gary Shandling and, of course, Jay Leno to guest host his show. But Larry Sanders would talk about hey, we could get Jon Stewart. They're like, no. And all of a sudden it was, what's his name? Hello, from Match Game.
Charles Nelson Riley.
Charles Nelson Riley. He chose over Jon Stewart to be his guest host when he wasn't away.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I think this is actually, if you're a comedy fan, this could be very threatening to us because they're going to be really good at this, I think.
I think we should give prizes to anybody that can prove they made it through the entire episode.
Meaning that they listened to the whole thing?
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so that may be coming in July. We'll see. Or no,
like
I'm
it.
sorry, August.
All right. Here we go.
All right,
We're going to entertainment.
Entertainment. We had an email from Liz who said, if you haven't heard about it, you must watch The Curious Case of Natalia Grace on HBO.
Probably Natalia, yeah.
It's crazy. It's the story of an adopted Ukrainian little person. Her parents said she's
I'm in.
old.
Don't even say another word. I'm in.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm reading this email. I get a million emails from people recommending shows, but this one I was like, all right, we got to put this down.
All right.
Her parents said she is older than she claimed, so they dumped her in an apartment and moved to Canada. I am so in.
I am in. You know, I just started. I didn't just start. There's only 3 episodes, I think. I've watched 2 of the Army Hammer doc. Have you seen it?
No. I've read articles about Army Hammer. It's an insane story.
So this is what I would say to anyone who's going to watch it. Episode 1, if you have read those articles and you have seen his, crazy, text messages and sexting, was a little boring for me because they had to establish it like as if you had never seen that stuff. Episode 2 starts getting into his great-grandfather, grandfather, and father, and it's fantastic. And,
really? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And there's a long history. And when you're watching it, you really do get a sense of, of course they're above the law. They had billions back when there were no billionaires. Like his, whatever, there's spoilers, but they get away with, let's just say murder. And it's unbelievable. Of course, money can buy almost anything.
Well, you look at it's the same story with that family in South Carolina that had generations of wealth.
Yeah.
They were all lawyers, and they just started killing people. Just killed people.
But we don't realize how. Yeah. Anyway, he way more powerful than that. Like infinitely more powerful than that family.
Yes. There's also a recommendation. Timothy Kane said, have you or Mike seen the PBS documentary Once Upon a Time in Northern Ireland, 5-part series about the Troubles? Anyway, I got this email yesterday, and last night my whole family was out, so I sat down and I watched 3 episodes of it. It's fucking amazing. It is this really insightful, honest, raw interviews with people, both Protestant and Catholic, that lived in Belfast and Derry during the Troubles. The Troubles were basically from the late 60s. They went on for like 25, 30 years. And it was just a war zone. I mean, Northern Ireland was just bombs going off and, snipers and hatred, just pure, unadulterated fucking Israeli-Palestinian kind of hatred. But it was these people that now as they've gotten older, have some perspective, have some guilt, feel very conflicted. And it's really deep. It's an amazing documentary. I highly recommend it.
And then he went on to talk about the Irish band. Sorry about my voice. Stiff Little Fingers, which he calls like the Irish Clash. And,
have you heard of them?
Yes, of course.
Oh,
and I'd sometimes confuse it because Elvis Costello had a self-given nickname like that he would call himself and sometimes someone will write in next week and correct me, or clarify, but it was like a credit on his albums. It was Broken Little Fist, something like that. So I would confuse it. Yeah. But it's interesting. The reason I read that part of his note was because it's funny. I always view English punk bands in a loose way, almost as Irish, because they're so anti-English.
Yes.
Like Joe Strummer to me, who is by no stretch of the imagination Irish, but and same with Declan McManus, which is Elvis Costello, so hated Margaret Thatcher,
right,
and so hated the aristocracy, and so hated the royal family.
Hated Oliver Cromwell, Oliver's army.
They were very in line with Irish sentiment.
Yeah.
So anyway, but okay, I also finished with Sophie. We watched The Last of Us and Olivia, both my daughters.
Great series.
That's, I won't spoil it at all, but it was an interesting ending. I will say it was a very writer's ending that probably causes a lot of conversations.
Yes.
About right and wrong and about what would you have done. So I liked it. I respected the ending a lot.
Where do you think it leaves the series for the next season?
Is there a next season?
That's my question.
So it's based very closely to a video game, which I know nothing about. I'm wondering if the video game had a second, I don't know, what do you call video games? Second iteration? There is a next season, says Denman.
Okay.
Well, it sets it up great for another season.
Yeah. Now that's what I thought. I thought it was like, oh, I'm fucking in on the next season.
There was just another game, so it's like part 2. That's what it would be, of a video game.
Okay.
Yeah, part 2.
Good. All right. Well, let's not talk too much about a show we don't want to spoil.
Okay, and then
next story.
Well, I can't spoil this show, but the new season of I Think You Should Leave just dropped.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to watch it.
I love that guy. He's very controversial. A lot of people can't stand him. But I feel the same way about Eric Andre. Like you're either all in or you find this guy annoying and you just don't get it.
He's annoying by design. So sometimes that annoys people genuinely. Like Goldie and I were talking about. Goldie played golf too with us. He's my old writing partner. Goldie's one of the funniest guys in town and works on Family Guy.
Why don't you say his full name?
Jonathan, well, it's Julius Sharp is his writing name. Jonathan Goldblatt is his God-given name. So it's a little always confusing. I never understood that, why he did that. But anyway, he talked about the sketch where it's a tour of a haunted house and they go, and this will be very short, but it'll show you why it's annoying. And so they're like, well, welcome to the 8:30 tour. And we're in the PM now. So this is the adult tour. So we can say whatever the hell we want. And then he's like, cunt fuckers, fucking cunt. Like, and they're like, sir, he's like, you said we could say anything. And that's all the sketch is about, is him complaining about the technicality. Well, why would you say we could say anything if I can't say fuck tits fucker? And like, it's hysterical or incredibly annoying.
Well, the guy's name is Tim Robinson, and he was an SNL writer for not long.
No.
And apparently they couldn't wait during the pitch meetings for his pitches because they were so insane. Everybody would laugh and they never got on the air.
And Chris put up, he was also in Detroiters, and Detroiters was a cult favorite on Comedy Central. And he was kind of true to his character there, Oh, it's great.
All right, we got a story here.
I just love it.
Michael J. Fox suffered a tragic fall over the weekend. While the actor was appearing at a Back to the Future Q&A panel in Pennsylvania, he sadly lost his balance while making his way onto the stage. He landed on a couch, and it came 3 years after he retired from his career due to the severity of his Parkinson's disease.
All right, read all your jokes. Go for it.
I literally just put that in for the awkward moment after I finished the story where people would say, like, what? What the fuck are they going to say about this?
That is a...
For me, listen, leave it alone.
We rarely have no-fly zones, but I just don't see a winning side in doing jokes on this.
No, there is none.
I pick a lot of losing sides. Trust me. I've already said Chinaman, so I get it.
Yeah. Here's a one we can read and feel good about. Jay Johnston of Mr. Show, Arrested Development, The Sarah Silverman Show, Bob's Burgers, and Anchorman fame has been arrested in connection with the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol.
Yep. Now, he was rumored to be hiding, wasn't he? It's because when his photo popped up everybody in comedy freaked out because they're like, there's no way that's Jay Johnston. There's no way.
Yeah.
And, Mr. Show is one of the reasons, almost literally, I moved to LA and started my career. Because at HBO, I was assigned to promote them. And I met Jay, and everyone on Mr. Show could not have been nicer to me. And even though I was a promos guy, you'd think they'd kiss HBO's ass. It was the opposite. They thought HBO promos was going to ruin their image. Like, if anything, I was going to be the fucking annoying guy that they didn't share anything with. Anyway, so he was very nice. But yeah, there's the picture. Chris just put it up. And all right, this is the one thing I have to say about it. This is what I want more than anything. Mr. Show had an incredibly famous sketch called The Story of Everest. If you have not seen The Story of Everest sketch, go to YouTube right now. And the star of it is Jay Johnston. And he comes in and he tries to tell his family about his adventure on Everest. And every time he's telling it, he falls backwards and he hits this display case of thimbles. The parents have a thimble connection, and all the thimbles fall to the floor. And it's the most annoying thing to put them all back. And then he continues his story. Well, what I want to see Bob and Dave and Jay do is recreate the thimble sketch, which it's known for, but it's him telling the story of raiding the Capitol. That's what I want.
Oh
that
my
would
God.
be the most viral thing. What?
That would be amazing. My the audio, my SD card on my voice recorder just said it's full and hasn't been recording. So just so you know, we will
You're such a pro.
We will be using the audio from the Zoom call. And now I'm putting in a new SD card that hopefully works.
Can't wait for Denman and Gibbons to host this. I had to switch Wi-Fi in the middle of the podcast, and now you don't even have memory on your card.
Oh my God.
Which is a guaranteed thing you should check.
Well, no, it said it had like 112 hours left on it, the card. But maybe I should.
This has felt that long.
Well, they all say invalid SD card. So I think we're going to just go with the audio from the computer for the rest of. I have literally 7 SD cards, and every one I put in, the recorder says SD card invalid.
Well, we've been going for like an hour 11 or something.
Okay.
We have some good Floridas in Australia. Should we? Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get the one thing I would say about Jay Johnston is I know Jay really well. He was we were writers together on Cedric the Entertainer Presents, which was on a sketch show on Fox. And Jay was not only a writer, but he was in a lot of the sketches. And he was just the nicest guy, one of the most talented people I've ever met. And he was sober since he was pretty young. And then he came to me and he knew that I was sober. And he said, I'm thinking about drinking again. And I'm wondering what I should do. And so I said, well, I don't really know. I'm not like a program guy, but let me talk to my aunt. So I called my aunt who's in the program. And she's been in the program for 30 years. And I said, what should he do? And she goes, well, they say in the program that sometimes you need to touch your bottom again. And then it just reinforces your sobriety. So I tell him this. And on Friday nights we would shoot, and then there would be a party after the show. And John Bowman, rest in peace, the showrunner, would crack open a bottle of 12-year-old scotch after the taping, and everybody would drink, and then a party would break out. So that Friday, Jay has some scotch and then leaves. Monday comes, Jay's not at work. Tuesday comes, Jay's not at work. Comes in on Wednesday looking haggard, and he then had a serious drinking problem again.
Thanks, Aunt Teresa. Great advice.
I know. Oh, his relationship fell apart, everything. And
it seems to be, technically she's right, but how about why don't we go out, offer to go out to dinner? Or she could have given advice that's a big step.
Yeah.
So maybe he clearly is mixed on it. He asked you about it.
Yes, I was the wrong guy to ask, obviously. And again,
Oh
I'm not a program guy. I try to never give people advice about sobriety. I mean, what do I know?
Cut to, he's a revolutionary. An outlaw, literally an outlaw.
He was so drunk he thought that the election had been overturned, was stolen.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some Make America Florida.
Coming up. I just love this. Is a short one. Florida man shot and killed by police after his mother calls 911 on him for making suicidal threats. Well, it sounds like mommy called her son's bluff. The next day, she called the police on her ne'er-do-well son, the other son. Yeah, hi, my son is threatening to tase himself and throw himself in jail. Can you get here right away?
He'll be home in an hour. If you could meet us here. I think the mother should be arrested as an accomplice to the murder.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, the cops won't be charged with the murder, but at least charge the mother.
Son, we took ma'am, we took care of it. Your son is in no danger and will not harm himself. Mission accomplished.
What about this other one?
A Florida man reportedly, I love this. This is so.
By the way, you don't have to hold up your microphone anymore because you're using your computer audio.
You don't think they're going to use my audio so I sound better?
They can't.
I'm still going to commit to it. Who knows?
Okay.
It's a backup.
Oh, he's saying we can still use Mike's mic. Okay. Yeah.
My voice needs every bit of help it can get. I love this because it's really a true, like, it has all the ingredients of a great Florida man and the characteristics of those men. A Florida man reportedly fell asleep behind the wheel while in the middle of 95, the interstate, over Memorial Day weekend, blocking traffic in the area. His vehicle was still in drive and his foot was on the brake. Deputies approached the truck, of course, and found the 21-year-old driver passed out behind the wheel. He was removed from the vehicle, and deputies found 2 guns and a 12-pack of Twisted Tea on the passenger side, with only 6 Twisted Teas remaining unopened. The driver reportedly reeked of alcohol, and his speech was slurred. He told deputies he had only 1 drink while at a strip club in Orange County. Well, that lap dance sure took a lot out of him.
Yeah, I was going to say, usually the drinks at strip clubs are on the weak side, but this club really packs a punch.
I think so, man.
By the way, I found an SD card. I'm back to recording again.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Producers on the fly.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's not unusual. First of all, if in Florida, not unusual to be on the highway and there's a car just stopped. That's just old age. They just die on 95 South.
That's there's the passing lane, and then there's the do not resuscitate lane. Jammed.
Yeah. It's called a shoulder because that's what they're leaning on against the car horn usually.
That's where all their drool is falling.
All right, what about Australia? What about make Australia Florida? Oh,
and what kind of alibi? What kind of alibi is the 1 drink in a strip club to explain the 6 empty Twisted Teas and the firearms? They're like, sir, he's like, I told you I had 1 drink at the club. They're like, yes, sir, we got that. In fact, let's just say we believe you. You have 2 loaded firearms on your passenger seat. That has nothing to do with candy at the club.
I didn't know that was illegal in Florida. I thought guns could just be everywhere.
I think you're right about. I mean, hopefully they're his. I mean, I don't even know what you need to have a gun in Florida. I think it's pretty easy to own one. I obviously it's registered, I assume.
Yeah.
And you can have as many as you want, I assume.
Yeah.
All right, let's make Florida Australia.
Let's do it.
Okay, we got 2 here. And the first one I just put in because it seems like the weirdest title. Australian man was actually Nebraska teen who murdered parents and escaped from prison, DNA test reveal.
Jeez.
So finally, this Australian mystery is over. Everybody had guessed he was a Kansas teen. So close. He was a Nebraska teen.
Yeah, it is funny, like the more and more I talk to people about Australia, it really is the Florida of the world. Like when I remember when I was in Bali.
It's a penal colony, just like Florida.
Yeah, right. It's where you go when you have nowhere left to go. And I remember being in Bali for our honeymoon, which is the most pristine. It's the only Hindu island in Indonesia. Indonesia is an how do you say it? Archipelago?
Archipelago.
Archipelago. And it's a lot of Muslim islands. There's Christian islands, but it's the only Hindu island, and it's spiritual and it's beautiful, but it's also close to Australia. And these drunks come out with fucking, Bermuda shorts and sunburns, and they just pound drinks and chase Balinese women. It's gross. They totally. There's one beach that's called Kuta, and that's where they mostly hung out. That's like the Fort Lauderdale of Bali.
Wow.
Yeah.
You usually know when Australians are in the house, no matter what that house is.
Oh yeah.
All right, here we go. Another Australian man forced to pay $3,300 for racial three-word slur of his Gold Coast neighbor. Let me read that again, because maybe this will be man forced to pay $3,300 for racial three-word slur of his Gold Coast neighbor. The spat started with a complaint over some incorrectly positioned plants and soon escalated. German-born Australian citizen, this is the neighbor, Hunerberg, had spoken to 25-year-old Murray's stepmother about his planting plants on his side of the boundary. The situation escalated later when Hunenberg went outside the front of his property to check how his son had parked his car. Murray was standing out the front of his parents' property with his father and half-brother when he yelled out to Hunenberg, "What are you looking at, you fucking German cunt?" And I think the dad must have been like, "Son, how many times do I got to tell you? Drop the German part. Fucking cunt is already doing all the heavy lifting in that insult. And if you just say that, you're not going to get arrested."
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, cunt is the royal flush of curses.
Totally. Oh, Australia.
Although not in your house. Your daughters think it's kind of a way of saying something's cool.
Yes, it's empowering, Greg. That's what I've learned. All right, on to sports. Take it away.
Huge story. This is your story. Read away.
The PGA, this is really the lead story as of Wednesday. The PGA Tour agreed to merge with rival LIV. Do the people say LIV or LIV?
LIV.
Do they?
Yep.
I would have guessed the opposite. Rival LIV Golf, which is, sorry, let me start again. The PGA Tour agreed to merge with rival LIV Golf, which is backed by the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, an entity controlled by the Saudi Crown Prince. Family members of those who perished in September 11th, terrorist attacks and protests, sorry, that threw me. Why would you say 9/11? Family members of those who perished in 9/11 have protested the league, including outside of events. 15 of the 19 hijackers on 9/11 were from Saudi Arabia, and Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the attacks, was born there as well. PGA Tour and Commissioner Jay Monahan talked last summer about knowing people who lost loved ones on 9/11, then wondered aloud on national television whether LIV golfers ever had to apologize for being a member of the PGA Tour. They do now, as does he, said 9/11 Families Unity Chair Terry Strada, whose husband Tom died in 9/11. PGA Tour leaders should be ashamed of their hypocrisy and greed. Our entire 9/11 community has been betrayed by Commissioner Monahan and the PGA, as it appears their concern for our loved ones was merely window dressing in their quest for money. It was never to honor the great game of golf. So what they did is they came out so strongly against LIV, and now they've joined them.
Yeah, and I haven't heard any details, but there's a docu-series about golf. It's the same people that did Formula One. Yep. And one of the producers tweeted out, we got all of this in the next season. Like, they've got all the behind the scenes machinations of what would make the PGA join up. I mean, just to give people more background, the Saudis, the company, it's a Saudi national company. It's basically the government has a fund, and they're trying to whitewash their crimes, including killing that journalist, Jamal Khashoggi.
Yep.
And they, you know, what they've done with women and gays. And anyway, so they're trying to whitewash it. This company is worth like $200 billion, and floating this tour cost them maybe $1 billion. And it's the greatest PR campaign they could possibly launch. So,
and it's out of the mouths of their poor people.
Right. Although PGA is being a little self-congratulatory about, have you ever had to apologize? Yeah, maybe when your caddy had to take the week off so that a black person could carry your bag. Maybe there may be a couple little scars.
Yeah, I think so.
Although I noticed,
although that's different than the PGA, I guess, but they participated. They played along.
Although not shocking, did not make a bid on the LPGA.
Ah.
I mean, maybe they figured it would be tough for the female golfers to follow through with the burqa on, and they wouldn't be allowed to drive the golf carts, obviously. A lot of lost balls because it's tough to see through those little slits in your hood.
I think the LPGA Tour rejected them because get the audacity. LIV was going to make them hit closer to the hole, like to tee off closer to the hole, and also like not to hit it nearly as far as the men. They were going to impose those restrictions on the ladies.
And they were going to make them 3-putt more, which has nothing to do with size. And yet that's the facts. That's the data.
Yeah, they should not accept those terms. It's demeaning.
PGA, I was reading in the fine print, the PGA will run holes 1 through 8 and 12 through 18. The Saudis control 9 through 11.
What?
Yeah.
Some things never change.
I know. It just seems like, and I think they're insisting that the night before any tournament on September 11th, all the players have to get drunk at a strip club.
I think it's in very poor taste, though, that they're also going to start as a policy. They're going to call the first tee ground zero.
What? No.
Yeah, because you haven't scored yet. You're still perfect low score of 0.
Yeah. And do you think instead of going the hole, they'll yell Allah Akbar? All right, enough. We beat
like
this
Baba Booey? Like
Baba Booey. Baba Booey. Let's do a little science.
Blinded me. Here we go.
Blinded me with science.
Thank God you don't sing on key, or we would have gotten flagged for copyright on that. Where is science? Here you go.
First virgin birth by a crocodile has been reported by a reptile park in Costa Rica. A lot of shit happens in Costa Rica. An 18-year-old by the way, the only virgin left in Costa Rica. An 18-year-old crocodile laid an egg containing a fully formed fetus, despite having been housed alone for 16 years and never mating. It's the first instance of facultative parthenogenesis, or virgin birth, seen in the species. An expert said he strongly infers that this means dinosaurs could also have virgin births.
Well, if this is anything like all the virgin pregnancies in female prisons, I would take a DNA sample of the guards at that zoo. I bet you're going to find a match.
Yeah. You're going to find a match from a guy who's got some bite marks. Got a smile on his face, but he's also got some bite marks.
Yes.
And then also, I was reading, it said 3 wise crocodiles came from afar and brought gold, frankincense, and a chubby Florida toddler.
Those are the gifts?
Didn't want the myrrh. Didn't want the myrrh. Wanted a fat baby.
I like it.
Let's get to some business.
Thank God the crocodiles of age.
Here we go, business.
Lululemon CEO. So it makes sense the more I read it, but the Lululemon CEO stands by his decision to fire staff for chasing thieves out of a Lululemon store and says he would do it again in the name of safety. It's only merchandise, he said. So he fired them.
Meanwhile, at Angelo's Army and Navy in Staten Island, the policy remains: follow the shoplifter outside, reverse chokehold him while the other salespeople beat him with tie rods.
I think this is definitely a countdown till those fired employees just waltz in and rob the shit out of that store with
Right.
no recourse.
Right.
You
Hey,
can't-
Bill. Hey, how you doing, Sally? Sales good today? Yeah, we've been ringing up a lot of guys. All right, I'm just going to grab a few things. I'll see you later.
You know, that's maybe what it was, because that was a stated rule. Like, you just hang back. So they probably were like getting their friends to rob the store. They're like,
Yeah.
but to make it look good, we're going to give a little chase.
Yeah.
To really make it seem like this wasn't our friends and our
Right.
plan.
Not an inside job. Then the employee comes in the next day wearing the stolen goods.
I borrowed my friend's shirt. How did I know they robbed the store?
All right, let's go to this day in history.
Go for it.
All right, we've been talking about Formula One. On June 11th, 1955, a racing car in Le Mans, France. Now, I don't know if this was Formula One. Was there Formula One back then? I'm not sure what race it was. But
I didn't know about this story. This is crazy.
the car went out of control and crashed into the stands, killing 82 people.
What?
The tragedy and the famous 24-hour race led to a ban on racing in several nations. First held in 1923 and since has been held nearly every June. Begins at 4 p.m. on Saturday afternoon and lasts for the next 24 hours over a 13-kilometer course running through the country roads near Le Mans. The winner is the racer who covers the greatest distance in that time.
I think this was in Ford versus Ferrari. That's the race. That's where the 3 American Fords crossed the finish line together, I believe.
Chris is saying it's pronounced Lamar, not Le Mans.
Oh.
I guess they could have 2
you're
drivers. Before 1970, each car could only have 2 drivers. Only a single driver was allowed in the early days of the race. 3 are required today. I guess this guy, Pierre Leva, was driving alone. He could have won. He was in the lead. And he fucking crashed.
I mean, the race back then must have been like, let's see who can not fall asleep.
Yeah.
I mean, that was part of it for sure.
The car was going about 150 miles an hour, and he catapulted upward, crashing into the grandstand, and exploding parts went straight into the crowd. Damn.
And he walked away. The only scratch he had was from all the women he hit, whose nails.
Yeah. So the race continued despite the horrific accident.
What?
Yeah. Purportedly because if the remaining spectators had left the area, they would have blocked the ambulance called to pick up the dead and injured. The Grand Prix races in Germany and Switzerland scheduled for later that year were canceled. And Spain and Mexico temporarily banned motor racing following the 1955 Le Mans tragedy.
Oh, you see what Chris is writing in here? This is cool.
Corolla has a doc called 24-Hour War about this, involved Ford versus Ferrari. Wow.
Wow. All
Okay.
right. Well, Corolla is obsessed with racing.
One day I will take out upwards of 2 people with my Prius. That's it. Once a Prius hits one person, it loses almost all its velocity.
Nice. All right, we doing letters?
Let's do some letters. Now, we put it out to you, as we do. This show is a communion between audience and hosts. And we said we're thinking about doing some merch. You guys have sent us some amazing ideas. Eric says, I think you should have really understated golf polos with just a little Sunday Papers logo on the breast. It would be one of those if you know sort of things. That sounds kind of classy.
Maybe too classy. Maybe too classy.
Might be too classy for us. Don Gilroy, on the other hand, goes without class and says, all the grocery stores in my area require shoppers to supply their own shopping bags. Custom shopping tote bags are low cost and easy to ship.
Very true.
Don't we all have too many tote bags?
In LA, certainly. But a good one, especially one. You know what the ones I like are? They're the thinnest. You can literally put in your front pocket, like scrunch it up.
Oh, yeah.
What if it was something like that? And what if we got one of our daughters to silk screen it?
Yep.
Start a little sweatshop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meep Zork, I think that's his name. He writes us sometimes. I've seen bands and comedians do this. I'm a huge card nerd, so I would buy this in an instant. You make up a pack of cards. Each one has 4 or 5 inside out of a complete set of 30 or 40. And it randomly inserted are autographs, stickers, puzzle pieces, shiny parallel cards, etc. Find the Gibbons, perhaps. That sounds really cool and very likely something we would never finish doing.
Yeah, that sounds intricate for our simple brains, but that very cool idea.
Great idea. Love the idea.
If you told me, if you just had a list of names, these are all the people that wrote in this week. Who wrote that one? Meep Zork, first guess.
Yep, that's such a Zorky email.
Oh, he meeped that one right in.
Brian Maley said, you guys were talking about weed grinders while overlooking the obvious rolling papers. If you can custom make rolling papers with our logo on them, that's fucking done.
Can't you?
I was just saying, maybe somebody could send us a link. But if we can do that, that's what we're doing, because then we can literally put it in an envelope and mail it out and be done with it. Yeah. We'll charge you guys $1 for shipping.
A really easy thing to do is, but I don't think we have enough golf listeners, but you make the stamps that put your monogram on a golf ball, like you personalize your golf ball.
Yeah.
You'd have a Sunday Papers logo.
Okay. It's not bad. Paul Sampson said
Rosie's Bagels has a golf logo.
Do they?
Yes, I have one.
If you like bagels and you live on the west side of Los Angeles, go to rosiesbagelsla.com and get yourself some molasses.
Carol Leifer's going to be eating some.
Yep. Boiled in molasses, crispy on the outside, soft in the middle, all the smears, all the toppings. Get on it. Delivered to your door. Got to be on the west side of LA, though.
That's all. One little catch.
Paul Sampson says a lot of maroon items, cap zip sweaters or polos, or a roll-up paper where Ralph has his polo on the horse logo. What does that mean?
That's Ralph Lauren, the polo logo.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's enough mail for today.
Yeah. Someone wrote about air. What else was there? Pride. Yeah. Cunt is trending. Yes. All right. What are we up to?
We'll get to all those. We're up to the obituaries.
Do you have one?
Yep.
And that's all, folks.
Short week. And
very short obituary. Norma Hunt, pronounced Hunt, was the longtime wife of Kansas City Chiefs founder Lamar Hunt and a matriarch to the team. They were married in '64, just before the team he owned, the Dallas Texans, became the Kansas City Chiefs. They remained married until his death in 2006, at which time ownership of the Chiefs transferred to Norma and Hunt's children, with their son representing the team. Hunt was an enthusiastic supporter of the Chiefs and the NFL, and she was the only woman who attended all 57 Super Bowls. At Super Bowl 56, she participated in the coin toss. She also set another record by asking 57 years in a row how a first down works.
I doubt that. I doubt that very much.
It's true. It's true.
I didn't know there was already a team, the Texans, at one point.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a short and sweet one. Let's cheer up, Mike. Let's cheer up.
Yeah.
Let's do the Sunday funny.
I didn't even realize I was down about that bitch. But all right, let's do it.
Now we got Hager and his gang of marauders is standing outside the moat of a castle. The king and the queen look furtively over the edge of their balcony. The king looks down and says, "The deep moat is keeping us safe from Hager." And then the queen says, "Well, it's not keeping storage boxes in the basement safe." And you see the moat is leaking into the basement.
What?
And then you see Hager and Lucky looking up at the queen lustfully. They're not thinking about treasures. They are looking at this hot ass queen. And you see the fear in her eyes.
They too are thinking about wet boxes. I'll tell you that right now.
And pearl necklaces.
I think they have way bigger concerns than their wet storage boxes, especially since this predates cardboard.
Right. Everything was metal back then.
Yeah.
All right, you're going to love this one. Leroy is standing in front of the mirror holding his big belly. Loretta goes, "A waist is a terrible thing to mind."
Look at that.
That's fucking solid joke writing right there.
You write that in the morning, you go to lunch. Come back, you try to do it again.
That's it. That's it. Meanwhile, the family circus has tried and failed for 50 years to come up with one joke as strong as that.
It's ridiculous. Here's the far side. You see they're like in a lab, even though there's a couch there. And the scientist is behind the couch and has his hand on the shoulder of the guy. And so there's a guy and a girl sitting on the couch. And if you look closer, it's Frankenstein and Frankenstein's bride. And the scientist is like, "Hey, come on now. You two were made for each other." I guess it's Bride of Frankenstein, technically.
Bride of Frankenstein, yeah.
Can
you imagine that? You go through all that work, you build two monsters.
Yeah.
And he's lonely. Remember, the whole premise behind Bride of Frankenstein is that he was so violent because he was lonely. And so he builds her a woman, but she's a cunt.
Not in the good way that we all know now.
No, in the Australian way.
I will say, unlike you, who is much better read than I remember, because of my ADD, getting through very many books, and I remember even loving less of them. Frankenstein is still one of the best books I've ever read.
Yeah.
If I read your book till the end, you had really involved me and you had really stimulated my mind. And it's the granddaddy of so many sci-fi premises, like Blade Runner. There's no Blade Runner without Frankenstein. Right. Frankenstein's the original, I'm AI. I'm AI, and I want to meet my maker.
Yep.
I'm pissed.
There's no RoboCop.
Right. It's unbelievable how big a book, and it's such an easy read. just what a summer book to get. It's thrilling. It's fantastic.
There you go. Mike Gibbons with literary picks for all of our 8th grade listeners.
And of course, most of the world completely took the wrong message from it. And every movie's about a terrifying monster. You are so on the monster's side when you read this book.
And then Young Frankenstein, to me, is as good as Mel Brooks ever got. I mean, that was fucking brilliant.
Written in West Hampton Beach.
No kidding.
Yep, on a kitchen table by, of course, what's his name, who stars as Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein.
Oh, he was on Everybody Loves Raymond. He was the...
No, Willy Wonka, for Christ's sake.
Oh, Gene Wilder.
Gene
Wilder wrote the script?
Yeah, he wrote Young Frankenstein.
Oh, what was the guy who played Frankenstein, the monster?
Yeah.
Boyle?
What? Yeah, Boyle. I want to say Danny Boyle, of course, but what's his name? And he was John Lennon, the best man at John Lennon's wedding, or the other way around.
Gene Wilder?
No, Boyle. This is a true old person conversation. What? Who?
How long does it take Denman to look up Boyle's name? I'm looking at the cursor and I'm wondering what happened to Denman. My SD card failed and Denman failed.
I used to go to so many Everybody Loves Raymond tapings because you had introduced me to Ray, and I knew, and I worked with him when he promoting him his hour at HBO, blah blah blah, and his half hour. Anyway, another show that was so nice to me, including all those people.
Denman just wrote, was praying you'd move on. Okay, well, a little direction from Chris Denman.
Yeah.
Peter Boyle.
Yes.
All right, finally, we get to fucking Dagwood laying in bed. He's got on, here's what kills me. He's got on donut pajamas and he's got a laptop. A laptop is for porn. It's for pulling up videos of beautiful women you can jerk off to. You are laying next to a woman who's way more beautiful than anybody on there. Granted, she's not Filipino and she's not auditioning for porn, but she's laying next to you with her yellow locks draped across her golden shoulders, which are exposed underneath the mauve frilly negligee. She wants it. She's reading a magazine. Magazine, not a commitment, Dagwood. That means she's browsing and waiting. And what are you doing? He says,
hold on. Here it is. Wait, let me just interject, which I rarely do when you're on your tirade. But imagine, if you could, a world where Dagwood gets more boring and less desirable, and take it away.
For our summer vacation, did you know New Mexico is home to the world's largest pistachio?
Cut your throat, Blondie, right there. Just slit it open in the bed.
She peers over and says, "You don't say." And he goes, "I also discovered a huge 2-lane donut display in Los Angeles." And she goes, "What happened to us chilling out at the beach?" And he goes, "Wouldn't that be tough knowing all this great stuff is out there?" Are you 7? Are you a 7-year-old, mildly damaged mentally human being?
Yeah, not a normal 7-year-old.
Oh my God.
A normal 7-year-old does not want to go see the largest pistachio.
I would want to go see the 2 largest melons laying on a beach next to me with their golden little toes playing in the sand. Oh,
yeah.
Dying. I'm dying over here.
Or her donut. Both of them.
What about her donut?
Her
donut
hairy
holes.
Donut. Hairy?
There's some hair on this donut. That's your wife's vagina, Dagwood. If you want,
smaller than the 2-story one.
Do yourself a favor. It's spring. The weather's nice. Go see a concert. Go see some theater. Go see some comedy. Game Time. Get the app. They're going to get you to those events way cheaper than you ever thought possible, and you can wait till the last minute. Go to the Game Time app and create an account. Use code PAPERS. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Also, we want to thank Midcoast Media, Chris Denman, for being there for most of the podcast. Key, John, Beth, thank you so much for what you guys do.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And I don't even have to ask Mike. He wants to promote Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Go
Already
get
plugged it. Everyone
right.
go do that.
There you go.
And don't quit on, it's not great, but don't quit on the Army Hammer. After the first episode, it gets more interesting.
I would also like to apologize if any breaking news happens in the next 3 days, but we had to get this done early for my son's graduation, and we'll
apologize for the technical difficulties as well.
Yeah, but we got through it, and while we were on the air, I got on Amazon and I ordered 2 new SD cards, 128 gigabytes each.
You see how present Greg is while he's doing the podcast?
Yes.
He's online shopping.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Everyone should take it eesh.
Take it eesh.
Bye-bye.